Are you confused about what to feed your baby and when? Beginning timely and appropriate complementary feeds is an important step in your baby's development. During this video, we will talk about some general guidelines for beginning complementary feeds and demonstrate the preparation of feeds that can be given to the baby. After a certain period, breast milk alone is not sufficient for the baby. To maintain growth, complementary feeding should be started. However, breastfeeding must be continued. Some general guidelines should be followed during complementary feeding. When introducing complementary foods, introduce only one food at a time. Don't time or schedule feeds. Provide feeds on demand. Babies may spit out the food initially, but persist with the feeds. Use a thin consistency when starting solid foods and gradually modify the consistency as the baby grows older. By 12 months, baby should be eating food similar to the rest of the family. Continuing to use semi-solid food even when the baby is older may lead to feeding fussiness later. For preterm babies, there is a small change in age of introduction of foods. This is based on corrected age. Corrected age corrects for the baby's prematurity. It is calculated by subtracting the number of weeks early that the baby is born. The staple foods should be a cereal pulse combination in a 3:1 ratio. As the babies grow older, the variety should be increased by adding new foods in the staple food one by one. It is best to avoid commercial preparations. Prefer homemade foods and follow hygienic practices when preparing food. Sterilize the baby's feeding bowl and spoon. Avoid storing of prepared feeds to prevent contamination. Complementary foods should be introduced in the correct sequence. The first food that can be given to the baby is rice feed. For rice feed preparation, take rice flour and water. Bring water to a boil. For every 150 ml of water, use 1 tablespoon of flour. Allow the mixture to cook until it reaches a milk-like consistency. Rice flour can be easily prepared at home. To prepare it, soak rice for 2 to 3 hours. Dry till it is slightly moist and then grind. Sieve it to get a fine powder. Dry roast the flour until hot to remove water and prevent contamination. Cool and store in an airtight container. By day 5 to 7, UGGU can be started. UGGU is prepared from rice and dal in a 3:1 ratio. The rice and dal should be soaked for 1 to 2 hours. It should then be sun-dried and dry roasted, after which the mix can be ground and sieved to get a fine powder. Store in an airtight container. Soaking, drying and roasting enhances digestibility and nutritive value. For UGGU preparation, use UGGU powder and water. Bring water to a boil. For every 150 ml of water, use 1 tablespoon of powder. Allow the mixture to cook, making sure there are no lumps. Cook till a semi-solid consistency is reached. The feed must be thick enough to stay on the spoon without running off when the spoon is tilted. As the baby gets older, ghee, oil, and cooked mashed vegetables can be added to increase energy density. Foods can be enriched by using germinated or sprouted flour and toasting of grains before grinding. An easy way to improve the nutritive value of porridges is by adding a maize-rich flour to it. To prepare ARF, first soak wheat for 12 hours. Rinse and then drain the water. Tie the wheat grains in a moist cloth and keep in shade for 48 hours. The moistness of the cloth can be maintained by sprinkling water on it throughout the day. Once the wheat has sprouted, sun-dry for 5 to 8 hours. Dry roast to remove any remaining water and grind and powder it. Sieve it and store in an airtight container. Add 1 teaspoon to cooked porridges. Other foods that can be given when first starting complementary feeds are mashed or pureed apples. Cut an apple and cook half in a pressure cooker. Once it is soft, it can be peeled and then mashed. For a thinner consistency, add water. To get a puree, the mashed apples can be blended with water. Mashed potato is another good option for a complementary feed. A pressure cooking method like the above can be used. Alternatively, it can be prepared by boiling. First, wash, peel, chop, and boil the potatoes till soft. Then mash. To get a smoother consistency, water or breast milk can be added. Follow the correct pattern and sequence of introducing complementary foods. Good nutrition is important for proper development. Nutrition in early life affects your baby's health in later life.